So you spent better part of 2 years there.
Yeah, I did 5 pumps in and out. God. My first one was 11 months, and then we...
fucking cheers to that.
Cheers, brother.
We're clinking on that one.
So it was good. It was. I learned a lot, man. Contracting for me, it really opened my eyes to. There's obviously before that, there was kind of the NSW way of doing things. Where as a contractor, now I had access to CAG dudes, SF dudes. So I picked their brain, man. It was student time. We'd go to the range. I would study their tactics. We would all run different courses of fire. So to me, the learning curve went through the roof, because it was like, dude, I'm training with guys I never had access to before. And a lot of these dudes were Jedis, 20 plus years. And so I was like, holy shit, I found my Miyagi. I just studied everything they did. And it was the early days of contracting before it got watered down were truly humbling and amazing.
Yeah.
These individuals that I broke bread with and drank beers with, just I really appreciated that moment. Like, holy shit, I'm really learning a lot about life and about the real world. And it was initially a very, very good experience, man. Yeah. It started out a good thing.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. I mean, the little bit of contracting I did, again, it was here stateside, just teaching, some Army guys, basic, it was 3 days of pistol, 3 days of rifle, like basic marksmanship training, but it was from a tactical standpoint. So it was, the same type of shit that we would do like day one of the range. But but what was neat is that I was with a same type of environment, is that there was 4 of us, and there was me, obviously from a SEAL background. There was a Force Recon guy, a Ranger, and a Green Beret.
Oh, nice. Yeah.
And so like the 4 of us, and these guys, this was in late 08, like August of 08. So, all these cats had been doing contracting for a few years, and so had some pretty fucking good experience. But then also their culture from their prospective service branch that contributed pretty significantly to the way they did things, and again the tactics. And I did kind of the same thing. As I spent about 4 months working with these guys, and even though it was just basic, 3 days of pistol, 3 days of rifle on a flat range, it was still real eye-opening, and I did very similar things. And then I was like, I'm going to keep my fucking mouth shut, and I'm going to learn from these guys. And I did. Like, that's when I transferred over into wanting to shoot a Glock, and here's the ironic thing, or almost it's almost embarrassing. Like, I learned more about shooting working with those guys than I ever did in the SEAL teams. I mean, not that we didn't spend a lot of time shooting, but it was very specific and very one-dimensional in terms of it was all naval special warfare. It was all SEAL team stuff, whereas like working with guys that had different experiences, like I learned a shitload about shooting and became a much better shot because of it. But
definitely.
But yeah, I definitely echo your sentiments there, and it's interesting to hear, that you had a similar experience that way. But
yeah.
So all right, so you did 2 years in and out of Israel and Gaza. From there, what was your path?
I was reassigned to the embassy in Kabul, and so DynCorp. That was kind of the beginning of I always call it the new hot chicken town. Blackwater and Triple Canopy popped up. So then it wasn't. Yeah, when it started in its inception. That's what happens when I try to use big words. DynCorp pretty much had everything, but then as these other companies came up, these bidding wars started happening on the embassies. So we actually lost the embassy in Tel Aviv to Triple Canopy, which I was surprised about, because I thought, damn, we shed blood for these dudes. Like, it was a big deal. The package was fine, but the protection detail took a hit. Yeah. So I kind of figured these dudes owed us. Like, we'll have jobs here forever. And it was actually the opposite. They couldn't wait to get rid of us because of that awkwardness now between our detail and theirs.
No shit.
It was weird. It was opposite of what I thought.
Fucking State Department.
Yeah, right?
Call them out.
I'm telling
you. It's a mic drop. Call them out.
Fuck the State Department. Yeah, honestly, I was totally surprised. I was like, dude, we'll have jobs forever. And then all of a sudden, it's like, hey, Triple got the contract. But in the contracting world, they will offer certain people to step across because you have knowledge of the area. You have your buddies with the Terps, and you've ran these routes 100 times. You know the people at the different venues. And so... But I had been there for so long, I thought, damn, I mean, it's I want something new. And DynCorp still had Afghanistan. So I'm like, yeah, I'll stay with the company. And it's kind of like the teams. You've earned your way up the ranks reputation-wise. There's no ranks or anything, which I actually enjoyed about contracting. It was truly, in the early days, kind of a man's game in that it was all first-name basis, and it was all like, what do you put on the table now? It wasn't rank-based or how many deployments you had, or it was just, this dude's still a performer. He's our guy. He's a workhorse. So I decided to stay with the company because I had been with them for a while and they took care of us. I didn't want to step across and still stay in Israel, even though the accommodations were nice, especially by deployment standards. I mean, it was good. So I went to Afghanistan, and I was initially assigned to the embassy protection detail. But one of my buddies was a team leader in another mission, a long-range protection mission called Broadsword 1. And they went up in the Panjshir Valley and did some things with some clients. And
nothing vague about that, Clark.
Yeah,
the company and the clients and the customer and
things, and Yeah. So because of that pre-established connection from one of my former dudes that I was in Israel with, he goes, "Yeah, dude, we'll get you off the EPD. We'll do this long range stuff." And I'm like, "Yeah." I mean, I was just new, so I was just happy to still have a job and keep going and whatever. So that was it was interesting. It was very eventful. It was more detailed into certain things. Good or bad, I think I lucked out because I was only there for about 4 months and it was the wintertime. So warfare in Afghanistan is somewhat seasonal.
Yeah.
Because the mountain passes snow over and stuff. Things still happen in Kabul. You get your car bombings, or they had these dudes on scooters with these speaker bombs. They would just put these shape charges with a magnetic speaker on your car and stuff. So we're always worried about dudes on bikes and stuff. So Kabul was semi-active, but where we were was pretty chill. So my time in Afghanistan, I always said it was kind of like a fucked up Colorado. Like Panjshir Valley is actually kind of nice.
Yeah.
Except, it smells like mushrooms and everybody wants to kill you. But I enjoyed the experience of it because it was an extra layer to the contract side that I wasn't aware of. So it was interesting but uneventful.
Yeah.
So it kind of satisfied just a curiosity factor of, wow, contracting, you open a door and there's 3 more doors, and you can open that door and then there's 3 more doors, and you can start to climb into some cubby holes with it. So it was interesting in that aspect. It wasn't as eventful as Israel had been, but it was interesting as shit, man. I remember going up into Panjshir and there's burnout Russian tanks and shit.
Yeah.
I just wanted to scream, "Wolverines!" But I wish I had fucked them up.
Fucking Red Dawn style.
I know.
So, I mean, when you were there, I mean, was there an element of still that Russian '80s, influence there? Obviously, but I mean, what kind of impact did that have on your guys' operations, if any, or was it just more like almost sightseeing?
No, it was. Our in-brief was pretty down and dirty. These people here aren't scared of you.
Yeah.
They fought the Russians for 10 years. They fought each other for 10 years. Every step you take, you better own it like it's American soil.
Yeah.
These fuckers, I don't know where you came from or what you've experienced, but they're not scared of you. You have to own your shit.
Yeah.
So I was like, what the fuck does that mean, dude? And I remember
bend over, I'll show you.
My team leader at the time was this ex-SF dude, and our first venue, we went to meet somebody out in town, and it was funny, man. I was with my buddy. I'll kind of get back to him later on. I call it the trilogy. I was in Israel, Afghanistan, and Iraq with the same dude. So I was like, if you have like that typical like battle buddy, like this is my boy, man. I'll call him J-Lo. Nothing to do with the singer. But anyway, our first night there, they throw us in what they call the jammer car. And it's not electronic jammings. It's this Road Warrior welded big ass bumper fucking car that they just ram cars out of the way. Like this motorcade doesn't fucking stop. Lights and sirens through downtown Kabul, just fucking hitting cars out of the way and shit. I'm like, holy fuck, we're in the backseat of this. Me and J-Lo are looking at each other laughing like, what the fuck, dude? Again, contracting gets weirder.
Yeah.
So we end up at this venue, and the TL puts us out. Me and J-Lo on the street, and he goes, anyone comes up the street, you fucking shoot them, and he walks off. And we're like, looking at each other like, is he
wait,
is he serious? Like, we can do this? Like, thank God no one came up the street, because we were like, I don't know. We would have just looked at each other like, dude,
Should we shoot him?
Yeah. So the guy would have walked right past us by the time we made our decision. But I was like, this is fucking weird, man. So, I mean, my first few years contracting, it was like a Scooby-Doo mystery. Like, what the fuck do we do next? You know what I mean? It was fucking weird. But eventually I got onto that long-range team with some buddies, and I kind of knew what was going on in the flow of it. And that really was more of kind of a sightseeing thing. You know, we were with people that wanted to meet other people, and we were just there to make sure everything was cool. And so it was uneventful.
Yeah.
And I attribute most of that just to the weather conditions at the time. But it was still fascinating, man. It was still, to me, it was historical. Like, holy fuck, man. I mean, seeing these things and being in the mountains, and you know, we'd link up with some people and stay in their house for a few nights. And so it was kind of the more mellow side of contracting, but it was fucking interesting. It was cool. But the karma of contracting struck again, and the new hot chick in town, Blackwater, showed up.
Yeah.
And they took over the embassy.
Yeah.
So we had a 2-week period where we were going to do ride-alongs with them and kind of show them our routes and this and that. So I'm riding with this Blackwater dude, and somehow the conversation of long sleeves came up, and he goes, yeah, they got a new policy now. If you have tats, you got to wear long sleeves, and you can't have a beard. You got to shave. And I'm like, why the fuck are we contractors, man? Like, I could just sign back up and shave.
Duty and deal with that shit.
I know. So I was like, well, this is kind of stupid. But the deal breaker for me was our compounds were directly outside of the embassy, and we were protected by Nepalese Gurkhas. Well, Blackwater had this great idea that they were going to build a compound right off of Jalalabad Road. And I'm like, that's not a good thing. Like, this is an unprotected site right off a really heavy stretch of road that gets hit a lot, and there's a lot of bad guys out there. So I didn't have a warm and fuzzy about it. So again, I decided to not step across with the new hot chick in town. I decided to stay with DynCorp. So I sat at home for 6 months, and DynCorp, there's always these bidding wars on contracts with these companies. And the big three at that time were Blackwater, Triple Canopy, and DynCorp. But DynCorp was kind of the dying old man, and really Blackwater and Triple Canopy were taking over. So I waited as long as I could, but again, venting my frustrations to the Brotherhood, a project in Iraq had kicked off, and the project managers were Duke Leonard and Dennis Chalker. So I was like, oh, whatever they're into, I'm in, dude, because that's just
old school fraud.
Some epic shit.
Yeah.
And so I hopped on board, and that was all word of mouth, man. They wanted all team guys, and it was very cool. And it was funny because Denny was our command master chief at Buds.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, dude, I get to see that dude again. Like, it's going to be fucking weird. And not to fast forward too much, but my first day in Iraq, I was so excited. I was waiting outside the ready room, and I see Duke and Denny doing their little perimeter patrol around our camp. And Denny breaks off, and I'm like, oh, fuck, dude, he's coming over to me, dude. I'm like the kid that's at the bus stop early, first day of school.
Fucking principal shows up.
Dude, and he comes right over to me, and he just kind of gives me this up and down. And what class did I put you through? I just started laughing. I said, do I still call you Master Chief? I don't know what to call you. And he goes, call me Denny. And he just shook my hand, and I said, 215, Denny. And so that started kind of that whole chapter of it. So, and that was more of a training side type thing.
Yeah.
So that was, it was cool.
But still with DynCorp.
No, that was USIS, USIS.
Okay. Oh, I got you.
And so we jokingly say, because it was a training mission, that USIS turned into ISIS. USIS turned into ISIS. Yeah, sure. I'm pretty sure some of our former students are.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
It was baffling, but it was. I got away from it was a DoD contract, a training mission.
Yeah.
And our mission was to create an Iraqi Tier-1 unit, which is impossible because they're only there because they're related to somebody, and they don't want to exercise, and they have ADs all over the place. And so it was a kind of a disaster in a handbasket, but we had access to a lot of good shit because of that budget, man. It was good, man.
So you moved. One question, I guess, that 6 month period that you sat at home, still working for DynCorp, or still being attached to them, like, were you shit out of luck, or were they paying you at all? Or
no,
just fucking
no. And that's the downside to contracting. When you're not on contract, you don't get shit. So you watch that bank account shrink.
Yeah.
which is fine for a while, but when nothing's coming in and
Yeah.
all this shit's going out, like a bank account gets small quick. So
Yeah.
that's why I started hitting the panic button, and some bros were like, well, hey, I got this if you want to break away from that State Department shit. So I'm like, yeah, dude, if it's all team guys doing some shit.
Yeah. So when you were with USIS, what year was that? Was that in
06, 07. Yep.
So did that kind of round out your contracting career with them doing that? Or
That did. I finished that out, and I realized my first deployment on the Shiloh was 96. Now here it is 07, and I'm in Baghdad. I've been gone for 11 years. My 2 kids went from tots to teenagers. Literally, I was so caught up in that storm of trying to move forward that I realized, like, damn, my kids are teenagers, dude.
Yeah.
And at that time, when I was in Israel, I started to date my current wife.
Mm-hmm.
And so, once you fall in love and you have other interests, like, shit gets a little scary in that. Like, there's repercussions. When I was kind of in between marriages, I just didn't give a fuck. Like, whatever, dude, it's just me.
Yeah.
I realized my kids are getting older. I'm now in love with this gal. And I'm like, fuck, dude, why am I doing this? And then I remember we used to fly into like either Jordan or UAE, have a night, and then you'd fly in. And I'd be sitting there in my hotel room. Like, it's one thing if you're in the military. Like, I have a choice. I could walk away from this.
Yeah.
Why am I doing this shit? Like, is it the paycheck? Is it
the bros?
The bros I keep finding? I luckily I was on good details, because as it got watered down over the years, there were some shit details. Anyone who was a security guard for half a day was now a contractor.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the things that I noticed just even in '08, talking to the guys that I had met doing a little bit of contracting I did, was that early on, like you said, that '03, '04 time frame, it was super selective. The pay was good, but there was only like 1 or 2 shows in town, and they could do that. But as these new, chick of the weeks, as you put it, pop up, like, when the bidding wars start, then it's like, okay, well, how do we lower our price? Well, we lower our price by lowering our standards, and now you got beat cops and fucking security guards.
Exactly.
And, dudes that, no disrespect, but have no fucking business, doing that type of work, and they're doing it, and so to me, like, that was a fucking scary element. And I never really had a whole lot of interest in doing contract work on a broader spectrum like that, but and a lot of it, frankly, was from hearing kind of the horror stories of guys as I was getting out, because I got out in November of '08. Hearing some of those stories of how it's getting watered down, and over that period of time, how it had gotten into what it had gotten into. But so you had a fair bit of experience with the contracting, and then so now you decide, okay, I'm done with the fucking contracting. I'm done with the military. I'm going to come back stateside, and now you decide, I'm gonna go into the Phoenix Police Department, basically.
Yeah.
Walk us through that process of how kind of that went.
So it's kind of funny. In contracting world, we used to bag on cops that were getting in.
Yeah.
Who the fuck are these pussies, and all the shit. And they were kind of the second class citizens.
Yeah.
And kind of a funny story, I guess I could name drop this dude. So part of that ERU project in Iraq was Mark Geist, who's better known as Oz these days. So he was on the same detail, but we became buddies because he's from Colorado. So I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm from Colorado, bro. He was a Marine, but he was a cop. So we were all kind of like, oh, you're a fucking cop, dude, whatever. So his call sign back then was Polter, because his name is Mark Geist, Poltergeist.
Yeah.
So, we used to just, whatever, give each other hard times and stuff. And so it was kind of funny. I remember thinking, like, fucking cops and all this shit. But then I started realizing, like, what are you going to do when you get back home? I had a great time in Iraq. I did 2 pumps there. We hit Route Irish a lot. It was active, I mean, it was 06, 07 was kind of that second wind of violence.
Yeah, man, that was a hotbed of a time to be in Iraq. I don't give a fuck who you are. If you're wearing an American flag, like, there's some shit
you were a
on.
target, man. And luckily, I had already been somewhat indoctrinated in Israel. But each AO had its own. Like, people ask me which one was the worst. Israel was more evil because it's like biblical hatred between 2 people. Afghanistan was more wild. It was like the Wild West. There was no control and nobody scared of nobody. It was kind of a big fuck you contest. But Iraq was pretty fucking legit, man. Our camp was outside of the BIOP, is the airport there. So the bad guys know anyone coming and going's going through the BIOP. And the only route between the BIOP and the green zone was Route Irish, and our camp was right off Route Irish. So we were running up we called it the chicken run. Speed your friend. So as fast as those armored vehicles could go, small arms fire, roadsides, all this stuff. And then we shared a fence line with Camp Cropper where they were holding Saddam. So again, the bad guys know something's going on over there. So indirect fire, and it was pretty fucking wild. But that's where I met. I always want to call him Poulter, but he's Oz now. Sorry, dude. I know you're famous and stuff, but dude, he's one of those guys though that he's still a cool dude, man.
Yeah.
I bumped into him up here in Dallas at a SWAT conference.
Yeah,
I didn't know he was there, and he looked at me. I looked at him like, oh shit, bro. And we still chat because he still lives in Colorado.
Yeah.
And so the next time I'm there, I want to sit down with him. And what an experience, obviously, he's been through.
Yeah.
But he was one of the dudes that kind of turned me on to the idea of law enforcement in that, what the fuck am I going to do? My advice to people that want to join the military nowadays is learn something in the military that will translate when you get out.
Yeah.
I wish I had been a corpsman or something, or learned a language. I was a 60 gunner air rep. So if you're hiring for air mobility or you need some belt fed shit, a stunt double for Full Metal Jacket 2, I'll play Animal Mother's son. That's about it. So it was people like him that kind of got that thought process going. And so I came back in 2007. I left Iraq. Went home to Colorado, and I'm sure you've experienced this. There's that honeymoon phase where you're home, you're glad to be home, and you see your parents and you see your friends, and shit's cool. But then the reality happens of like, well, what the fuck am I gonna do now?
Yeah.
And so that was my conundrum. I thought, well, shit. I mean, let me look into this cop stuff. So I looked on some websites. Basically, nobody was hiring in Colorado.
Yeah.
There's like 3,000 dudes try out for 2 slots in some podunk sheriff's department. One of my buddies that was a contractor who was a former cop, he was a Chicago cop, he said, bro, especially a dude like you need to go to a big city. Mm-hmm. Don't go to some small department. They won't be able to handle it. Like you need to blend in a great, he was a Chicago dude, so he knew. Mm-hmm. So my brother was living in Phoenix at the time. So I got on Phoenix's website, and right on the website it said like, now hiring 500 dudes. And I'm like, oh fuck, I can slip through the cracks, dude. I can be the gray dude for a minute. Yeah. And so in Colorado, they only tested like twice a year. The chances of getting it were none. So I call the number for the Phoenix dude. He's like, oh yeah, we have a written exam every week. Just come on down. And I'm like, shit. So I call my brother. He goes, yeah, come on down, dude. So I hop in my Jeep, and I go down, and I barely passed the written, but I passed.
Fucking ASVAB waiver.
Yeah. Well, they gave you like bonus points for being a veteran, and that's what qualified me. Swear to God.
Fucking great.
It was like 10 points for veteran, and that's what bumped me above. Like,
we feel bad for you, so we're gonna let you fucking come in.
Yeah, since you ate the pencil. So yeah, I went through that hire process, and I ended up. My brother owned some properties in Phoenix, so he shacked me up in one of his apartments. And I went through the process. You'll like this part. So it goes back to my Bud's talent. So I go through, there's like a written test, a PT test, and then there's like a background investigation. And the background thing was interesting because the background detective, luckily he was a cool dude, because talking to some of my other buddies, they did not have cool people that hired them. This dude's like, hey, I need to know everywhere you've lived. Anywhere you spent a night, I need to know. And I'm like, I was in the military, dude. Like, holy shit. And I was on a floating boat that went, there's probably places I forgot. So I tried to remember everywhere I fucking been. And we were there for hours. I was just like, and then I was in Guam. And then I was at Tinian and, whatever. Just, holy fuck, how many places do we go? Yeah. And then it started with, I need to go over every tattoo you have. And I'm like, oh, shit.
So how much time you got?
Yeah, again, poor dude's typing away like, okay, what's on the left? So somehow I made it through most of the process. I did have to do the polygraph twice, but I passed. So where the rub was the psych eval. Yeah. I know.
Fucking
surprising.
Gaylord Fokker style.
Yeah, oh, dude. Yeah. So I had talked to some of my buddies that were in the process, and they're like, "Yeah, I was in the psych's office for probably about 30 minutes. After 10 minutes, I was asked to leave." So, so this is how it went down, and this is embarrassing because I know people are listening. All of a sudden, I go in there and everything's cool. It's a female psych person, whoever she is, I don't know, doctor, whatever it is, and she goes, "Do you look at porn on the internet?" Again, going back to my third phase skill set. I said, "Well, yes, I do." And she says,
all distinguished. Well, yes,
as a matter
I
of fact,
actually do.
I'm quite of a connoisseur. I'll take porn for $400, Alex. I'm telling you, if that was a game show, man.
Fucking slay it.
Oh, dude, some deployments are lonely, So I said, "Well, yeah, I do." And she said, "Well, do you look at anything inappropriate, like animals or children?" And I'm like, "No." And she said something about like, what do you look at?" And I said something smart ass remark about Asian porn, or whatever. And I said, "Well, hold on, let me explain something here." And she goes, "Well, wait, how many times a day do you masturbate?"
How is that even a fucking question?
Dude, this is getting personal, man. And I'm just like, and it's a female too. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's one thing jerking off on an airplane to San Clemente with your bros, But now I'm talking to this, chick in a little fancy suit type thing, and I'm like, fuck that. I don't know.
How's that your business?
Yeah.
How many times do you fucking rub?
Well, I thought about it, and I was like, I don't know, like 8.
Jesus Christ.
And she just was like,
she's like, no, seriously.
She goes, I think we're done here. And I said, no, let me explain myself. I said, here's the deal. So my wife is in Thailand. It's taken you guys 5 months to this point to hire me. I haven't seen my wife in 8 months. She's applying for, a visa to come over here. I'm in an apartment that has 3 futons, a PlayStation 2, and a laptop. I really have nothing to do. I said, look, if you look at a 24-hour period, it's not that much. It's more of a marathon, not a sprint. I'm pacing myself. It's kind of out of boredom. So she's like, okay, I think we're done here. And so I had made friends with one of the SWAT dudes prior to me being in the hire process. So I call him. I'm like, bro, I think I fucked up the psych. He goes, what did you tell her? So I told him the story. He goes, all right, hold on, let me call you back. So I think he did me a solid. He called me back however many minutes later, and he goes, you're good, bro. I was like, oh, thank God. That was the last step of the hire process.
Just to be a fucking cop.